This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, September 4th, 2018, episode 109. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Infection. He is unfortunately joining me via the internet, because it was a lot more fun when we were hanging out in person. Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hello. And it seems like it's a lot easier when we're in person as well. There's not that little delay.
What?
I mean, it's seamless. Yeah.
What delay?
Don't play.
Hey. Brian, you there?
Are you there? Kind of like last week where
I'm not going to cut you off whenever you're, every time you start talking, I'm not going to just talk on top of you, right?
Thank you. Yeah. Last week, my internet connection chopped out totally. So
that's true.
With the live thing, at least, well, I guess if we both dropped out, we're all gone all together. So
well, I can't possibly I can't drop out, or the computer would stop working. So yeah.
So, all right, if you want to find me at
Brian, why don't you give me your social
Twitter?
Network sorry, you were talking. I didn't read the delay.
Good.
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com, and make sure you go and check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. On there, we have links to our show notes. We're going to have a lot of information. We'll probably have information on this set of show notes, especially that we don't get to due to all of our PAX coverage. We still have, I put links to a lot of different updates that happened this past week. So we will mention which ones are on there that we didn't cover, but that would be a good use of the show notes, is to go and click through each of those links, check out some of the videos that we may not get to, and just, we'll also probably have links to our actual things that we're going to play today from PAX. Also, if you follow our YouTube channel, if you look on the right hand there, it has a link that says YouTube. We'll be posting our videos that we did record right onto there into a playlist. Also, we have our Twitch channel, our Discord, which is a great place if you want to suggest news throughout the week. If you would like to hang out, talk about whatever games, maybe play games, and use the voice chat there, you're more than welcome to. We have a really good community. Also, I know there's people that listen and they're not a part of that. I would ask you to consider getting in there, because the ads, it's kind of like a level up with our podcast. It kind of takes you to the next level and helps us to get to know you. So when I guess we can say from PAX, one of the cool things is Lance, who originally through H1Z1 and the podcast, we were able to get to know him, and he was there at PAX with us this past week. And also Sean, who I knew more from before, but he came and helped us as well, and they were both very helpful. That was something that was really nice, is they were able to come out and help us with running the equipment and just hanging out and having fun. I mean, it'd been maybe a little more awkward just having Nick and I there, I guess, with 3 beds and sharing the same bed with no other people there would have seemed kind of weird, Nick.
What are you talking about? Here's our
like, Nick, there's a bed out there, Nick.
Oh no, it's fine.
I know.
It's scary out there, Brian. For the audio, you're a real comedian. For our audio listeners, I'll post this in the show notes as well, but it's on our Twitter. You can see our motley crew hanging out in the Fortnite mini golf room, the Fortnite burger. We were hanging out there, and
the Durr Burger,
and ooh, that's the wrong camera shot. I do want to say quickly that there are 2 extra YouTube videos from PAX West. There's 1 extra podcast. So we did a PAX West pre-show, which was about an hour long. It's on YouTube. And then we did an hour and a half post-show, which is on the podcast, which people I'm sure have listened to. Well, I know they've listened to at this point. So, but maybe if you don't subscribe to any of the platforms and you only watch live, there are 2 extra kind of shows per se from PAX that took place, plus all of the interviews and stuff all over on our YouTube channel. So yeah, that was PAX West. We did it. And what are your I mean, I guess before we get into everything else, news wise, I mean, what was your thoughts on PAX West, Brian? compared to, I guess,
one
East.
one thing that we noticed right away is a very different layout of building.
Yep.
Now with PAX East, it is in March in Boston.
Boston,
and so there, Boston, whatever it is, Boston.
It's Boston.
And it was very, very cold. So you didn't really feel tempted. Thank you. He's playing a nice slideshow of our exciting times. It was very cold over there, and so you didn't really feel tempted to walk down the street and see what was around. We didn't go wandering around the convention center because it was freezing cold.
Yep.
Here, one thing that was really nice, we had a little more time. We gave ourselves 2 more days, which is huge, to be able to get everything done. And so we had time to wander around and see the city. I mean, we didn't go all over the city, but we got to see just different areas of Seattle and just kind of get the atmosphere and hang out and go to dinner and just do stuff. And so that was kind of nice to be able to do that. And I think that made it much easier on us, because I remember last year we were exhausted. Yeah, we went to the crab pot because we didn't go to the docks until
Sunday
night.
Yeah.
No, and so they were closed.
Yeah, Sunday night.
They were closed, and then we were leaving that next morning, so we couldn't really go there and check it out. And plus, it was a holiday, so I don't know what would really have been open anyways. But we got a nice dinner there. Lance ate a ton of seafood.
Yeah, like an unhealthy amount of seafood and bread.
Yeah, and a couple loaves of bread and 3/4 of a 2-man's portion of seafood. But it was great. We had a lot of fun.
We had a blast. I was when Brian, I said body in the airport, Brian and I were the last 2 to break apart after everybody else left. I was sad. I was a little upset. We had a really good time. Obviously PAX West itself was awesome. We met so many cool people, both industry people, and we saw so many cool costumes, and just the whole, we're all geeks, we're all nerds, and to just be kind of wrapped up in all that for 3 days, nonstop almost. We were at the convention center from most days 10 or 11 in the morning till 5 or 6 in the 4, 5, 6 in the evening. To be just wrapped up in and around that all day was a lot of fun as a nerdy gamer. So that was a lot of fun. And then, as you said, we were able to do something. We did some trivia in Seattle. We did some eating, some shopping, in and around like local. We went to a local comic book shop and all that fun stuff. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I said this in the our post show, but I do really want to thank all of the people that made the trip possible through the people that directly donated through the Streamlabs donation goal, to the people that do the Twitch Prime subscriptions, the people that buy the Humble Bundle using our affiliate link, the Amazon affiliate code, the Twitch bits, all of that. Every single penny of that goes towards and essentially went for paying for our Airbnb, dinner one night, and a couple of Ubers. It covered a lot of that stuff on the trip, which was a lot of fun, and we really appreciated. So thanks to everybody. Next week we will announce our we'll go through and we'll recap everything. We'll announce the winner of our canvas art contest. So we'll do that on next week's program. We got a lot of news to get into this week. Next week should be a little bit lighter. So do that next week, but I really do want to give a huge shout out to everybody who supported us and made this trip possible. We had a lot of fun, and boy, we're already trying to plan out of what gaming event, or maybe which gaming events we want to attend next year. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's PAX East, PAX West, South, E3, GDC. There's a lot of gaming events in the US next year, and trying to figure out which ones we want to go to and how we're going to facilitate that. So I really do want to thank everybody for making that possible. And there we go again, to our friend PHVCK for the resub. What does it say? PAX has no games.
Has no games.
Well, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we do have some games. We actually have a couple interviews, about 4 interviews we're going to play on the show this evening, and all these will be up on YouTube as well. But we'll be playing those on the show this evening, because we did 8 interviews, which was we were a little concerned after day 2 because we only had 4 interviews after 2 days. We were striking out with getting interviews lined up, and fortunately on the 3rd day we were able to pick up 3 or 4 more, and it was able to.
Well, and I think the positive thing of that though was we went and we did legwork to get interviews that I think no one else was able to get, because we were like, here's a specific game that we want to talk to somebody about. Is a dev here? And we would track down a dev where they weren't generally giving an interview.
Yeah.
So it gave us an opportunity to talk to some people and get those interviews that you're probably not going to see, because we didn't generally base it on the email list that we got. We said here,
email was pretty
walked
useless,
around,
to be honest.
Yeah. We walked around and we looked at pretty much every booth.
Multiple times.
Think every booth.
We damn near we covered that entire show. We must have walked through that show floor.
Yeah, not quite a number of times.
Half a dozen times.
Yes. And so we looked at each game and we're like, okay, what games seem interesting? And then rather than relying on them offering to us or anything, we went and said, hey, is there a dev here? Is there someone we can talk to about this game? And sometimes they're like, one is, I guess we can do this since we weren't able to get a interview with them, was The Forest. Yeah. We've never talked to anybody about The Forest. They had The Forest there at the PlayStation booth. And we went and asked and said, hey, is the dev for The Forest here? And one person said yes, from PlayStation, but they weren't sure where they were at. And so we came back like 4 or 5 times. If I remember correctly.
We came back so many times that PlayStation staff members were asking us if we had done the interview, because they kept seeing our stupid asses walking back and forth.
And then finally one had checked back and said, hey, we found out that they're not here. But we're gonna work that out and still try to get something worked out for that. But we made our legwork, and I think it paid off.
I just pulled up my activity monitor from my Apple Watch, and on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday combined, I did 38,728 steps. Now there was some walking in Seattle, but that kind of gives you the idea of how much we were out and about. I think we walked 8 miles on Friday.
Yeah,
which a lot of walking, and we're not saying this to complain, but to say that we scoured every inch of that show floor, finding any game that was of any interest to the survival genre and to the thing. And part of what I think we're going to be working on over the next couple months here, Brian, is changing the definition of survival. I think you and I have got to change that definition, because when you think survival, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, the first thing is zombie. You think of survival, you think zombie. You think zombie, survival, it's zombie, something, it's zombie. So you think DayZ, H1Z1 zombie. That's not the case. There's plenty of other games that are the true definition of survival, and I think we've just got to, when I say we, I mean we as the community have just got to expand our I guess our vocabulary a little bit, and redefine what survival means, because it's changed. What it meant in when we started the show in 2015 is a lot different than what it means now in 2018. There's a lot of new, different games that are hardcore survival that don't involve zombies or base building and things like that. So we've got a lot of that stuff.
I think they also, the lines are starting to be blurred. I think before people would make, okay, we're going to follow the definition of a survival game and we're going to make a survival game.
Yep.
And I think now you're seeing this blending and this merging of games to where you're getting battle royale survival more. I mean, you're getting battle royale. It used to be battle royale was exactly the same recipe for all of the battle royale games. Yep. And now you're starting to see a battle royale game with survival elements in it. You're doing more. I think people are trying to make it to where there's more to a battle royale game, and there's more to even the Call of Duties. I mean, if you look at Battlefield is turning around and adding BR elements and survival elements to their base game, which is, they were more close to the original Call of Duty, as far as the gunplay and stuff like that. You would think of them closer to that. But if you look, they're trying to transition to where it's not just a shooter game, or shootergame.exe, but they're more of adding in these other elements, so there's more depth to a game. So I think that we're going to see more and more things. One we'll be talking about is Dying Light. I mean, they're changing the definition of what that game is as well. So
Of
I think
what
we're going to see
BR
that
is.
with more and more of these titles. What BR is. I think we're going to see what their BR is different than the standard BR that Brendan put across. So
yeah, the original.
I think we're going to see that happen more and more.
Yeah, so we got a lot of that to get into. We've got some videos that we'll run into that we'll go into as well. What are we doing for Game of the Week this week, though, Brian?
So I was thinking, I think we can do Rocket League as a group now.
I wouldn't. We just played it a couple weeks ago.
Okay, because they did their patch.
Yeah, we just did that a couple weeks ago.
And they put out their season pass. Or their thing comes out tomorrow. So I wasn't sure if you want to do that, because then we could actually do console play. But
we can, but I want to say we did it like 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah. So do you have a preference? I mean, I don't care what we do.
No. Guess we should have discussed.
My wife's going to be out of town, so not doing Rocket League is fine. She'll be mad that we did it when she's gone.
No, I don't know. Pick something.
All right, let's why don't we do some Fortnite?
I think that's a great idea.
It's been a while since we've done Fortnite. We've got some people that are more skilled at it now. Maybe they can carry us through some games.
Fortnite will be
but
good.
let's do some Fortnite, because I don't think we did Fortnite.
We did
when we last planned. Did we get distracted?
No, we've done it in the past couple months, but I think that's we last time we had a good turnout for it, so we'll do that again. We probably did that 8 weeks ago or so. So yeah, there you go. Fortnite. We do our game of the week. We may have some new people listening. Our hype man extraordinaire, Mr. Landgun, was we handed out 70 dog tags. We're fortunate enough to get we get dog tags printed up. I don't have my keys with. Do you have one in arm's reach?
No, I don't. I didn't bring one back from this round.
Oh, okay. So. Well, it's the same as last year, but I don't have my keys with me. But we got dog tags made that have got the name of our show on it and our Twitter and our Twitch. So we may have some new people joining us for the first time this evening. So our game of the week is every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We do what we call our game of the week. We pick a game, and everybody shows up in Discord. We play the game, hang out and chat for a little while. Sometimes after it, we end up playing another game after a couple hours, and it's just kind of a cool way to hang out and do something on your Friday night if you're home and you got nothing else to do. So that's what we do every Friday night. Our Infection game of the week this week, we'll be playing some Fortnite. They had a huge presence at PAX West, which I don't know if we'll get into today. But we'll get into that over the next couple of weeks as we go through our PAX coverage. And my plan is to have all of the interviews out on YouTube this week. So if you're listening to this podcast now on a Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday when you're listening to this podcast, this show will be out. All of the PAX videos will be out by the end of the week. So subscribe to our YouTube channel for that. I think we should open with the exclusive that we've got here, Brian. And I don't know how much you want to intro this. You do. I think you do a good enough job in the video. But we saw a game at PAX West, again nestled in a booth. They were nestled within the Twitch booth, and that was Rend. Brian has talked about Rend in the past. And
mainly that it was released
about 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
But we didn't really get a good concept. I mean, we knew it was survival, right? But we didn't really get a deep dive into the depth of the game. And so we had an opportunity to sit down with the developers of Rend, and they showed us. And now what we're going to show you is actually an interview that we did after the fact.
Yeah.
But they sat down with us in a separate time for about 30, 40 minutes and just showed us all the things coming up in the game. And so it was really interesting, showed things that hadn't been announced yet. And it was in the game. We'll go into what we feel about the game and kind of some depth into it here in a second. But let's go and play that interview, because they do a really good job of describing some of the elements of Rend. Here, PAX West 2018 here in Seattle, Washington. And we're with Tyler, who works for Frostkeep, and they have a product called Rend. this is something that really fits into our audience. So we wanted to get some information for you that when this comes out, it's actually new information. So some stuff that will be a first peek. And so first of all, we ran into you, and this was something we saw some information about, and we're like, this is the kind of game that our audience would really enjoy playing. So you gave us an opportunity here yesterday to sit down with you and go over some really good information about the game, and we wanted to get a quick recording here so they could get some of that information directly. So what is Rend, first of all?
So Rend is a faction-based fantasy competitive survival game. So some of the things we do, they're kind of a little bit different from other survival games. Immediately when you join the game, you're put on a faction. So you have a bunch of other people that are working towards the same goal, and that goal is to actually win the game. That's where the competitive part comes in. You're working with your team to collect these spirits in this world inspired by Norse mythology, and the first to collect enough spirits to win the game actually ends the game, and you ascend to basically become the new Norse pantheon of gods. The server resets, and you start again. So you get to keep in that loop of playing that match over and over and over.
So you said that there are multiple factions. From our talk yesterday, 3 factions.
Yep.
Currently 3 factions in this game. What makes each of those? Is there anything that makes those factions unique? Are they pretty balanced? Is there something that differentiates them other than zone or maybe some colors and gear?
So we're definitely going for a more balanced approach because our game, like I said, is competitive. So the starting areas are actually all mirrored, so everyone has the same starting experience and the same flow through the zones. They do collide together eventually. It's a very much a PvP focused game, so you'll be having the factions fighting each other. Other than just kind of flavor and theming, and then obviously the faction color, they're pretty much the same. And you can join on any one of them. We do want people to be able to like switch teams between games so that you're not necessarily tied down to one faction forever.
Okay, so as far as, I guess, classes or something that when you go into a game and you have your character, like what makes your character unique when you're going in there? Is there anything that when a person first starts, they're weaker? Like, what are they going to be doing to make their character theirs as they progress and become a stronger character?
So we have tons of progression in Rend. Our background, our studio DNA is rooted in a lot of MMORPGs, just RPGs in general. So we have talents, which is kind of standard class progression. It's interesting because you actually get to pick 2, and your class is sort of the intersection between your 2 choices and the points you spend. We have skills, so as you do something, you just get better at doing that, and then that also allows you to pick some perks along the way to customize your character even more. Crafting has some personal progression baked into it, where a lot of people identify as, I'm the bow crafter, I'm going to spend all my time going down the bow crafting trees and unlocking all those recipes, and then someone else might be the armor crafter and help out their whole faction by providing armor for everybody. There's even another progression system that that you keep when the game ends, so you carry it over to your next game, called the Ascension system. That's something that just kind of happens behind the scenes. You get to buy kind of these lightweight perks that allow you to carry some things forward, like save a pet from last game, bring it into this game. Just general perks, some stuff that speeds up the early game. So after you've played the early game for like 3 or 4 times, you probably don't need to go through every step of it again.
And I noticed that you have some pretty interesting mounts and just some things you don't see in a lot of this style of game up until this point. Also, you had some really beautiful worlds in there. So what can people expect as far as maybe a starting world versus something that they would see later in the game?
So our game very much is still a survival game, so everywhere's trying to kill you in some way. But in the early game, we're like a little bit more friendly. We have a little bit softer zones that aren't necessarily trying to kill you aggressively right out of the gates, give you a little time to get your feet underneath you and figure out what the game's all about. Very quickly, though, you can progress into very dangerous areas that will offer all sorts of opportunities for you to kind of have to deal with the environment and deal with the creatures there. One cool thing about our game is all the creatures in our game are tameable, so to use these either mounts or pets, which is pretty awesome. It's a very long tail form of progression. You're going to be chasing all these pets throughout the game and using them. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, so you're going to want to pick them up and use them for different purposes. They're kind of a toolkit of things that you want to use.
And that sounds like it's a little bit of influence from maybe someone who worked here at Blizzard with WoW, because that's one thing I really appreciated. And they don't do it so much anymore with hunters and being able to go out and tame those pets, and you had all these different pets. For me, that was an aspect of that game that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's very much what we're aiming for. Our game is an inherently social game. You're on a faction, you're supposed to be working together, and we think this faction size, which is up to 20 people online at a time, is a big enough community that you feel like you can accomplish some really large goals and do some powerful things in the game. But then it's also small enough that people still know each other. Like, I am the bow crafter, and you guys know that, and you're going to bring your materials to me to craft the bow. Or he's the guy that tamed that really awesome pet and is just riding it around, and he's so cool. He's the leader of our faction. We're going to follow him into battle. So that's kind of what we wanted to create, is a social community that's big enough to feel inclusive and small enough to still feel like you know people.
And that's what our group personally, we found that 20-something people was right at that zone of everybody knew everyone. You felt like a tight-knit group at that level, but you still had enough variation to where you did have a group of people, and that was, here's how they helped. So right now people can go to the Steam marketplace, or they can go to rendgame.com. Go ahead, and it's out now, and they're going to be. Is there any information, anything that is coming up that you haven't discussed that by the time we air this is going to be different from when we're talking at this moment?
So, I mean, we went into early access 3 weeks ago. We've been making changes to the game kind of nonstop. There's been like multiple patches a week to update and kind of address player feedback, keep the game rolling forward. Some of the things coming up that we haven't shown off yet because they're not in the game yet, we did a sneak peek with you guys to show off a new creature, some new armor sets, and even kind of a new zone, which is going to be kind of the core of our first major content push. We think we're really excited for how all these things are going to go into the game, how they're going to change the game and give players more of what they're looking for. So yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting month or so for Rend in the next month.
Very good. So I think this is something we'll be talking about it here for the forthcoming future as they put out their updates and put out new content. We'll show that each week. And so if you want to go check out Rend, make sure you go to the website, check it out on Steam, give it a run for yourself, because it's a nice large world. You can go out there. There's a lot to discover, and we're always looking for those games that can interest the people that are watching this, that we think will pull them in and keep them playing for a period of time. And I think Rend is one of them. So thank you very much for meeting with us this week, and good luck for the rest of PAX. And we will see you guys here on Tuesday.
Awesome. All right. Well, yes, there was our interview with Rend, and as Brian said, we had that about half an hour preview where they just brought us. We just sat. They had a TV hooked up to a laptop, and they were showing us a whole bunch of different things that I don't know if we can talk about. So I'm not going to try to go.
No, actually, they said whatever we saw there we can talk about today.
Yeah, but I didn't see it. I haven't seen any patch notes, so that's why I'm a little hesitant. So I'm gonna. We saw some interesting things in it. I haven't seen any updates from them yet today, so I'm not gonna jump into that. But we had the opportunity to see Rend, and Rend looks pretty interesting. It's hard to describe the game. You kind of have to just sit down and actually look at it and get a walkthrough, or have somebody explain it to you. And we were fortunate to do that. It's just hard to do if you weren't looking at the video screen. So 3 factions, 20 players, 60-person servers. There's a bar in the middle. A meter that, based on objectives that you complete and things that you complete, you are racing the 2 other factions to essentially win the game. And after the game is won, to ascend. And after the game is won, the whole server resets back to square one. The server itself does, and some of your character elements do, but others stay constant through a reset. So it's a very interesting concept.
You'll gather those points as you ascend. If you guys get first place, you get points that you then can spend and get some special abilities that are those permanent abilities.
Yeah.
So that was something that was unique that you don't really see with server resets.
And it's kind of like the Ark. What is it? The Ark. What's the Ark
with the meteor?
Resets?
It's
not Apocalypse.
Extinction server.
Extinction server. Yes, where it resets. And instead of it being a set period of time, because that's about the only difference, is it it resets when some team wins. So if you're on a server where everybody is playing 24/7, you may complete it in 4 to 6 weeks. If you're playing a little bit of a longer game, slower game, it could take 10 to 12 weeks to complete. Or not complete, but before the goal is hit and the server resets. Hits.
And so the first game might be a longer one. One thing they're asking in chat is this 20 versus 20 versus 20 the only mode? Yes, it's 3 factions, and so when you join, you're one of the factions. Yeah. And right now it's 60 players per server, and so you have to join one of those factions. It's not like the other survival games where you're just kind of running around and doing your own thing. They're encouraging that you join up and play with other people. You work together because your goal is to beat those other factions and to be the top on the server. Yeah,
I'm very interested in Rend. The people, I'm actually wearing my Rend shirt right now. They gave us some shirts and some swag at the show, which was a lot of fun. Everybody on the team, there you go. Brian's showing off a little wristband there. Everybody on the team was super cool and very nice to us, and gave us plenty of time to ask questions and all that. So in the future, we're hoping to have somebody from the Rend team on the program live, or in some type of interview fashion, and they seem pretty willing to do that. So hopefully that'll be here when they've got something big that they want to bring up and talk about. But I think we've made why these events are so important is making the connection. We made a great connection. With I don't want to say anybody's name, but with an individual she was scheduling all of the interviews. I thought we made a very good connection with her, and fun enough, she happened to also work on the Daybreak team, the H1Z1 team, many moons ago.
When it was Sony Online.
When it was SOE.
Right.
So we made great connections, and the Rend folks were super gracious to us, and I'm excited to get into their game. They did hint at the possibility of giving us some keys to give away, so in the next couple of weeks, we may have some keys as well to give away. But if not, you can get the game right now. It's on Steam. It's $29.99. It came out July 31st, so it hasn't been out that long. It's been out a couple weeks at this point, and it's got a very interesting mechanic. And and why I said we need to kind of rewrite the definition of survival is this game is survival to the T. Base building, server, base building. Server-based events that happen, server-based things that happen, animals that you can ride, you can kill things in the environment. There's PvE and PvP. I mean, this game is survival to the bone, but it just doesn't have zombies, so it doesn't necessarily fit that.
But they're bringing in some of those MMO, kind of was saying about those melding of things. They're bringing in some of those MMO aspects that people really enjoy into a survival game.
This is what I thought H1Z1 was going to be when they changed that kind of into an MMO with the whole base building system. I thought what I pictured with that is, besides the server reset, this is how I kind of imagined H1Z1 would be. The bases are in kind of a dome that is only raidable at certain times or days, or it's not raidable all the time. If not, there's a kind of a force field around it. So there's a lot of those elements that I thought H1Z1 was going to turn into, and I thought it was quite interesting. They were at Gamescom just a couple of weeks ago, and they were at PAX West showing off the game. They were in the Twitch booth at West. They had a steady line of people. Every time we walked by the Twitch booth, there were people standing out there playing the game. Unfortunately, we didn't play the game because we sat down and they showed us around the world for half an hour. I didn't really feel that we needed to play it. I didn't really have any need to at that point, saying we'd already gotten a really in-depth dive into the game. So that's Rend. You can check them out at their website, rendgame.com. Again, it's on Steam. It's $29.99. And it was I think this was the game I was the most excited walking out of the interview. Seeing this game, I was very, very excited for the future of this game, for all of the opportunities that are possible with this game. As Brian mentioned in the interview,
it seemed to be very stable. The graphics are beautiful, so that was something that attracted me. And
as you mentioned in the interview, Brian, there's some WoW people that are on this team, so the MMO element of the game is clearly, it's got some inspiration from WoW. But then it's not as hardcore as WoW. It doesn't appear. It looks like it's a casual MMO, which is tough, which is really tough. So it'll be interesting to see what they do coming forward. They're full steam ahead. They were sparing no expense at PAX West. They're all hands on deck with this game. So
yeah, Ducky's saying, this feels like it would be a huge time sink, and that I think that's the beauty of this, is because there's a time, there's a reset, there's a time that you're aiming to get a goal completed, right? You're trying to get it to where you ascend in this game. You can say, all right, I'm going to play this and I'm going to do this session. Like, you don't have to do it. We don't have to continue a server all the time. You can have a group of players and say, hey, we're going to run this one playthrough. This month we'll have it where we're all going to cooperate together and play. And then you don't have to keep doing it. I mean, if someone wants to keep doing it, you still have those points that you can spend. You can apply them to your account. And then when you feel like doing another, like a month play or 3 weeks of play, then you can do it again the next time. It's not something that you have to do like with Conan we run into. If you're on a public server, you can't take 3 months off and expect anything to be left.
Yeah.
You pretty much have lost everything and you've started over. With this, if you take a couple months off and don't play, and then you come back and join in on right after a ascension is finished, you're in the same boat as you would have been. And everybody else is starting with you, so you're not way behind. So I think that that's kind of a draw that they were trying to get with doing those extinction servers on Ark, that I don't think they quite got the result. I mean, maybe people play that on a regular basis, but we weren't really drawn to that.
Well, the problem
because it was just resetting.
Well, and I don't know if this was mentioned in the interview or not. I don't think it was. But there are certain early game elements that once you have ascended or have been on a server that has ascended and the game resets, you don't have to do those same beginning game elements over again. I think he gave the example of crafting learning the recipe to make a pickaxe or something like that. Those early
you can put
game
your
elements,
points into that and you'll start out with that axe.
Yes, because it's assumed that because you've been on a server that's ascended,
done it a couple times.
Yeah. It's not going to make you waste the time, which is the biggest problem with Ark. Is the beginning of Ark is very slow and tedious. You're building your first base in Ark, that past thatch is a huge pain in the ass. It takes forever. It's very, very slow. The thatch bases are easy, but when you create that first wood base, it requires a huge amount of material to make, and it's just a very slow process. Rend is designed to be reset, so they've been able to counter those early game super meta elements that a game like Ark you just have to deal with every time, like taming your first dinosaur in Ark. Huge pain in the ass. You have no base to go to. It's annoying.
Well, and that's the thing, is if you look at Ark with their system, what is the goal? The goal is to be the strongest on the server before the time runs out, and then you just get with the extinction, then you just get to start over. Like nothing came out of it except for a server wipe. With this, if you can get first, there's actually a goal to get first, so that I would assume you get more points to be able to spend on those upgrades.
Yeah.
So that actually gives you a reason, other than we're just trying to play before the time runs out to see who can kill each other more, or get more dinosaurs. Like that's kind of a personal thing. You don't really get to see who is ahead, who's doing better, and so I think this is a more creative way of dealing with that.
Now, the Crinkle Lad in chat is saying, so if you get put on a team with noobs, you get steamrolled by expert players. No, actually, it's quite the opposite with this. I think some of the interesting element about Rend is if you I don't know this, I haven't played it yet, but the way I envision it being played is the first time you do it, you're gonna be lost. You're probably gonna get your ass kicked the first time you play it.
Yeah.
But the second, third, and fourth, as you continue to play and you learn what things are useful and what things aren't, you will after one
more effective.
After one ascension, I feel like you will be a 10 times better than you were in the first game. And they kind of describe that element as you'll figure out what works and what doesn't, and then when the server resets and you're back at square one, you're not gonna piss away your time doing something that ended up being meaningless in the long run. You'll just go right to the stuff that you need to do right off the bat. There's a incredible base building system. It snaps. You build a kind of a ghost frame with the materials, and people can just bring the material over and build the objects. Very similar to Rust. Similar to the Forest. It's got a lot of really cool elements that I think survival games are missing in terms of base building. It's got that the timed base raiding, which is what they described. There was some type of force field around a base, and you could only get into the base. They didn't say specifically what times, but they mentioned it being time limited when you could base raid. Another thing big survival games are missing is 4 o'clock in the morning, a clan gets on to raid your base. Nobody's playing. All your stuff's gone. We always had that happen with H1Z1. So there was a lot of issues in other survival games that Rend has, at least on paper, dealt with. Now, we've seen before paper versus reality. It doesn't always work out to be the same thing. So who knows?
Well, and I think with this, some of the comments in chat are talking about the factions, and it sounds like they're thinking of playing with randoms. And I think with this, what I would want to do is play with a team of people, build up a team of people that you're joining and being on the same faction so that you can cooperate and you can work together to get this goal. So this is very much I think a community-based game of our community versus someone else's community. We join a server as Infection, fill up all the slots on one side so that we can work together, hang out, plan, things like that to try to get first on the server. Not just playing with Rust, you look at Rust everyone ends up, if they want to be successful in that game, grouping together. As a solo, usually you tend not to be, unless you're just trying to grief people, tend to be by yourself. So
no, there's really nothing to do by yourself.
So yeah, so I think that this is something to where you'll want to join a community, find people that are like-minded, and go through it and play together, just like we do when we play games. I mean, that's how we play. We'll go and all play Ark together. We'll play Conan together, and so it's one of those types of game.
Yeah. So that was Rend. They were at PAX West. They were super cool folks. Well, we had the opportunity to meet them, and that was a game that a lot of people were keeping their eye on. They were very, very busy at the show, so that was cool, and we look forward to continuing a good relationship with them in the future.
Yes.
Before we get into anything else, let's cover some news, and a game that we talked about last week, Brian, that is just out right now. And I want to say, first of all, we haven't had the opportunity to play, and that's SCUM. They were not at PAX West, and I have not.
We did look for them.
We looked for them. I haven't been home, but I haven't been home, but 20 hours or so from PAX, so there has been no time to play SCUM. So right off the bat, I haven't played it yet. I don't know what the hell's going on with it, but interesting news. There's an article here from GearNuke.com that SCUM. The headline is SCUM sells 250,000 copies on Steam in the first 24 hours, and that was Devolver Digital's biggest digital launch as of yet. And I've been seeing a lot of screenshots and people playing SCUM. They were even posting on Twitter a little while ago. This game looks like it has a lot of potential. I was very disappointed is an understatement. I was very disappointed that they were not at PAX in some regard. This game is a new.
We went and asked the Devolver Digital guys. We went out of our way to try to get that connection made, and they said that they did not have any representatives from SCUM there. So, which
was very disappointing. I thought they missed a huge opportunity to get in front of 100,000 people at PAX West to show off their new game. I was really hoping they would be there, and I was quite disappointed that they weren't. But within the next week here, I'll be purchasing SCUM. I may even purchase it tonight after the show and run around in there for a little while. So I'm bringing this up to say it's still on our radar. It's still a game we're going to continue to follow, but I left Wednesday afternoon to get in a location where I could fly out for PAX Thursday. So there's been no time to play it between last show.
Yeah, what was it
and this
released
show.
the day before we left?
Yeah, it was released on August 29th. So it was literally released Wednesday.
It was the day before we left. So to go to PAX. So we'll have more information on that. It's just as you said, we were gone all week, and it would have been better if they would have been there, because then we could have asked them direct questions about it. But since they weren't, we'll have to do the legwork and bring you some more information and get people's take. I mean, that's the thing, is some of these games you kind of have to wait till people start playing it, because you can't rely on the hype. So you just kind of wait and see what people are saying, and we'll get some more of that information and see if it's really living up to what people were hoping it was going to be.
Yeah, and I'm not at this point. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other about it, because obviously we're just kind of waiting on that. Brian, a game.
No, I did hear from one person. I did talk to actually one person today, and they did say they were enjoying it.
Okay, cool.
So I haven't gone deep into it. It's just a short conversation, but they said they were enjoying it. So usually by now, if it was a total failure, we would have. You hear people talking about how bad it was. So I think there's a lot of hope that it is going to take off.
Yeah, it is. It's the internet was very quick to tell you if your game is garbage. And so far,
I haven't seen that, so that's a good sign that it's not.
Yeah, so far we don't have that yet. So we'll continue to wait and see what goes on with that. Another game that we talk about here is Miscreated. This would fall more into our old definition of survival, or the definition of survival that a lot of people have. Miscreated kind of follows that. It just kind of fits that mold. They got an update this week, update number 63.
And then they also did a hot fix of 63A.
Yeah. So they did some server stuff, but for game wise, one of the things that they did was they did some improvements to collision detection when opening/closing doors and gates, which is always something they've had an issue with. I've always found doors and stuff like that very janky in Miscreated. I don't know if you've experienced the same thing. It was always weird opening gates and doors. Or am I just crazy?
No, they did have issues, especially with bases, because I think there was an issue with. In here, they talk about how there was an issue with the action menu not being reset correctly after you interacted with different base parts, so you would get stuck where you couldn't open or close or do certain things with interacting with the bases. So that is one good thing. Plus, the doors now stop in reverse direction, so if they hit a player, they'll stop and go the other direction, so they don't just keep shoving you out of the way.
Yeah, and they've actually added something that is excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse from PAX, but we'll push through it. They've added something kind of a creature comfort for new players. They've newly spawned players or respawn players will now have a basic map in their inventory, which is something that is kind of poo-pooed in the survival industry. That's
so maybe they're going a little less hardcore, and that's the thing, is they were always aiming for that super hardcore, which there's a segment of the audience that drives away. They don't want a super hardcore game.
I don't know if it's necessarily, Brian, if it drives away, it just makes the learning curve so much higher that people just aren't willing to put in the time. I mean, everybody's busy. And
I mean, even if it's basic, like if it just gives you an idea, because then two players that are starting out for the first time can look at this map and say, I think we're here. Let's go up here. Because when you start on that, unless you go to a website and really actually figure out where you're at, it is very complicated to try to understand, okay, is there a town this direction? Do I just start running? I mean, that is an enjoyable part of the game, but I think they're trying to go for a little more mass appeal on this.
Yes, I think so. They worked on a couple of other things as well. They fixed an issue where some items could be restored with the wrong health value. They rebalanced the rad storms and the nuclear flash freezes, which are the environmental storms that affect players now. Pressing the jump key will now cause the player to stand up from any stance, which is always something that pissed me off about Miscreated. As it should be. Any game that has a prone or crouch, pressing space should automatically throw you to the up position. There's just no reason that it shouldn't. Because sometimes in first person, it's hard to tell what mode you're in. You can tell, you sometimes can't tell if you're crouching or prone, depending on where exactly you are.
And they added those prone animations in there. And one thing, actually, I sent a message because he was talking about one of the devs was talking about their prone animations, and they use a thing called IK. So it actually makes sure that your body conforms to the ground. You know how some games when you lay down, like if you go to a ledge, like the body is still going straight, like it's on a plank going off the edge of the ledge. So they use IK, which makes it so that you'll actually conform and look more like a natural movement. IK is also used when you see characters walking up a grade, a steep hill, or walking up steps and their feet actually go on the steps. That's IK. If it doesn't have IK, you'll see that it's like a ramp. It's supposed to be steps, but it's really like you're walking up a ramp. And so a lot of games, they don't want to go through the extra work to make that happen. But it looks like here they're taking the extra time and making it so you have those more realistic prone effects.
Yeah. Outside of that, excuse me, they did some tweaking to the game. Fixed damage done by items on players. Damage is only applied now. They just some kind of cleanup things that they've been working on. But I thought it was very interesting that they introduced. I think the basic map in the inventory is much bigger than it sounds and it reads. I think that is a dramatic shift from what they were
previously
before. Yeah. Now I don't know if it'll matter at all, but
I think it'll make it to where that first time player is feeling a little more comfortable when they get in there. And then they're also willing to go and look for certain things. Because, when you're dropped in the middle there, you don't know how big the map is. You don't even know if there's, some games you get in there and there's only one town, what I'm saying, in other games. So this new player who maybe doesn't know that much about the game, if he has a really rough map that says, okay, there's a town in the northeast, there's a town at the very top of the map in the north, if you get that general idea, your goal, you can set a short-term goal of, I'm going to run to this town and I'm going to go check it out. And I think it'll give a better first impression to those players.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if they continue this trend. I don't want to say easy because it's not easy, but continue this trend to a more pleb-friendly game, I guess is how the best way I can describe it. That'll be interesting to see if they continue on that track, and I hope they do, because it'll allow new players to hop in. The biggest issue with Miscreated, in my opinion, is the amount of players. It's got issues, but it just doesn't have a super big community around. It's got a very tight.
It's not very new player. It's not very new player friendly, because when you get in there, there's these players with all these bases and they've got gear stacked up, and they know the map, and you get in there and you're running around and you're at a huge disadvantage. You want some of that learning curve. You want some benefits of being an experienced player, but it gets frustrating. You see this with Rust. Rust is the epitome of this, where you're running around, you have no clue what's around you, and you get killed before you can really even go find that out. And so I think that this is maybe pushing away to where Miscreated is a little bit less like Rust. Because if you look, a lot of the elements of Rust and Miscreated are very similar as far as the PvP elements of it.
Yeah.
And so I think that maybe they're realizing that their player base, some of the servers maybe are too much like Rust. But if you look, look at the similarities of Miscreated and Rust. They both have those vending machines. They both have PvP where, people build up and stack all this stuff in this base and they just run around and kill people. It doesn't matter. Generally, you don't befriend anyone in Miscreated. I think there's more similarities between those two games than people realize, and hopefully they realize that, because if they don't want their player base to turn into Rust, then I would assume they want to make it more like what they're doing here, and putting some of those kind of comforts in for a new player to encourage them and make it so they're not at a disadvantage for so long.
Yes, I would say that's the case. So, and as you mentioned, they did that quick little hotfix, but that was a pretty decent update there from Miscreated. Again, that was their update number 63, which came out yesterday.
I know the sub patch was on the 3rd yesterday, so I'm not sure. It came out while we were gone, so I didn't mark down the time or the date when it came out, but I knew it came like probably on Friday or something like that.
Gotcha. All right. Let's talk. Oh, that is not what I was looking for. Let's talk about another game that we saw at PAX. We'll kind of do this, do a video, couple updates, and then another video. Something I was not expecting, didn't even know they were going to be there, didn't even know the game existed until we got there. Nestled all the way up on the 6th floor of PAX West, was a game called Last Year the Nightmare. And when we first walked by this booth, I didn't know what in the hell we were looking at. And lo and behold,
there was a lot of excitement around the booth too. I mean,
big booth.
People were having a good time. People were, you know how when people are playing a game and they start kind of yelling and
commotion
and saying things out loud, there's commotion. Yeah, people were really enjoying playing this game. So that's what really drew us to it. And we're like, we need to check this out.
Their setup was really cool. They had 4 or 5 computers on each side of the booth, with TVs, with a massive TV, a couple of massive TVs on the booth showing those different computers playing. Really interesting booth setup, big crowds all around it. And the first look at it was, is Friday the 13th here? Because that's kind of what it looked like. So this is a new game that you probably haven't heard about. They were at PAX East in March of this year, but right now the game is not out. You can't play it, and they've got some interesting things going on with how they're going to be selling the game. And I had the opportunity to interview a gentleman by the name of Justin, who works for Elastic Games, who is the publisher of the developer and the publisher of this. So here's our interview with Last Year the Nightmare, and again, this was just at PAX West 2018, just a couple days ago.
Nick here with the Infection Podcast. We are live in Seattle for PAX West 2018. I'm standing at one of the booths here that has got a huge crowd around it, and that is Last Year Nightmare. I'm talking with Justin, the executive producer of Elastic Games, who's making this. Justin, how are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us here.
Well, there's a lot of people around here. What's everybody crowding around for?
Well, it's a great game, and it's not only really fun to play, but it's really fun to watch. Last Year the Nightmare is a multiplayer, asymmetric online game where 5 players play as these teenage survivors stuck in a dimension that looks a lot like their own, but is super creepy and completely abandoned. And they're trying to work together to escape with their lives. Meanwhile, the 6 players playing as this unrelenting, unstoppable, supernatural killer who's just hounding them, gunning after them, trying to cut them down in their tracks.
How many players? So 10 players or 12 players per game?
It's 6 players per game, 5v1.
Gotcha, 5v1 with that. Now, there's a lot of competition in this market. There's games like Dying Light and Friday the 13th. Is there any inspiration from those, or where does this game kind of come from?
So Last Year the Nightmare is our creative director and founder, James Waring's vision. He, a few years ago, around the same time, a few similar games went into development, had this idea for a dynamic, fun, action-packed, thrilling game that pits, the typical teenagers from horror movies that we all grew up with against these supernatural-feeling killers, again, from that same genre. And he really wanted to create an experience that he wanted to play and he wanted to enjoy, and we drew like-minded individuals who were also inspired by the genre and the play style that we have going on. And our game is very unique because of its pace. It's really action-packed, it's really fast, frenetic, visceral, and that translates into a very different experience, a more of an action thriller experience with horror influences than some of the other comparables that you had mentioned before.
Let's talk about pace real quick. How long's an average gameplay?
Each round is 15 minutes long. If the killer gets you to run the clock, then he wins. He also wins by killing all of the survivors. The survivors, the only way they win is by escaping with their lives. However, once you complete all the objectives, the final objective in every match is always open the gate and make your escape. Once that happens, no matter how much time is on the clock, you have 1 minute to get out. I've seen veteran players and really our pro dev guys lose their minds when that minute happens because of the pressure. They start making bad decisions, and it's a perfect time for the killer to come in and have those nail-biting moments at the end to pick them off.
That sounds awesome. Now, one of the most interesting things I think here is all the way at the top of your booth, you've got exclusively on Discord. What is that all about?
So we're launching later this year exclusively on Discord for 90 days. We were really excited by partnering up with Discord for a number of reasons. It's always exciting to be part of a brand new platform and a whole new audience. But on top of that, they share a lot of values that we have here at Elastic Games. Discord is all about community and refining their product through the community feedback. We here at Elastic Games feel very much the same way. When we release this game later this year, it's really going to be the first version. We're going to get it out into the hands of our players, and based on their feedback, their play styles, what they're responding to, what they're reacting with, and what they're really feeling, that's what's going to inform our development decisions in the future. What features to tackle first, what content to create, what kind of changes and evolutions to the game we want to make. We saw that spirit in Discord as well, so it felt like a natural partnership.
You mentioned coming out a little bit later on this year. Do you have a price point, or maybe a little bit narrow of a release point? What's going on with the price?
So the price point is going to be $29.99 USD. That's going to get you 3 maps, all set in the East Side High School theme. 3 killers with their own unique play styles, designs, 5 teenagers, 4 classes, that have their different primary abilities as well as play styles, and a robust dialogue, crafting, and music system. That's our initial offering.
Awesome. Well, that sounds really cool. You got any final pitch to the community of people that enjoy games like this?
Absolutely. Prepare to be blown away. Our experience is so exciting, it's so visceral. You're not going to believe how much fun it is to die over and over again, and how much pleasure you're going to get from working together to take down that killer or make it out alive. We really hope that you have an amazing experience with Last Year the Nightmare. Please come visit us at lastyearthegame.com. Follow us on social media using the hashtag LastYearTheGame, and we already have our Discord server and our Twitch channel live. Come join our community, be a part of the discussion. We really, really want everybody to feel like they're a part of this phenomenon.
Absolutely. Justin, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
All right. That was Last Year the Nightmare, and this was a game that we stumbled across up on the 6th floor of the PAX Convention Hall. And unfortunately, we were unable to record any B-roll video. There really isn't a whole lot of video or even pictures that exist. There's some pictures that they recently put on their website, but there's not a whole lot of video that exists for this game. You may have seen a little bit creeping in on the background while we were doing that interview, but we weren't allowed to record live action gameplay. But we did have the opportunity to play. All 4 of us played. Unfortunately, there was an issue with their. There wasn't an issue with their anything. There was an issue with our VoIP setup. We just couldn't hear each other, and that kind of that kind of made the experience a little bit harder. But the game itself, Brian, was very interesting. It was just different enough. That
from Friday the 13th. So the 2
very
games
similar to F-13.
So there's Friday the 13th, and then there's Dead by Daylight. Both of those, there were elements from both of those that I think pulled from. But I think this one had more variety than either one of those games. Because if you look at Friday the 13th, one of the things that's really the downfall of that game is the repetitive nature. You have the slightly different abilities, but they're not really making them different enough, right? These characters in Friday the 13th, they're all pretty much the same thing, but maybe one will move a little bit faster, or we'll just, there's slight variations. This one, there's actually like a healer. There's an engineer, I guess you could say, that goes through and can
build little turrets,
disable those traps.
Mm-hmm.
They can build little turrets that will attack the what is it, a monster, I guess you could say, the enemy.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a monster. Yeah, I don't know what he is.
But also, then you have two kind of DPS characters. We played through, and it was enjoyable. I feel like we didn't know the abilities, and that's the thing about playing these. When you play it once, you don't know all the things that you could be doing, right? You don't know all the strategies. That's kind of I guess the joy of those games is you get better and you learn more how to do it. But I think for us, having never played it before, I think that it was very enjoyable as far as what we were able to figure out and do.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that I kind of knew that it was our issue was that the other group, they had two groups playing at the same time.
And the other ones had no. They seemed like
they must have had, they had 5 computers per side because it was 10 players total, 4 survivors, 4 kids, and then the monster. They were having a blast. They were yelling yelling commands at each other, calling things out. They were in the zone. I was kind of watching them out of the corner of my eye as we were playing, watching how they were interacting, and I believe some of them survived. Some of them did survive on the game that they were playing, but they were doing call outs and revive calls and all this other stuff, and they seemed to have no problem with it whatsoever. Yeah. The game mechanics itself felt all right. It did kind of a little bit give me some flashbacks to some of the weird movement in F-13. These games are really hard when the attack mechanics are so drawn out, because the hits are big. When the guy is coming to kill you, I mean, it's this massive wind up punch. The same thing when you're attacking. It's they're epic events that are going on, and when you've got that big build up to damage, things get a little wacky. So I had a little bit of that feel, which I wasn't necessarily a fan of. Again, I played 1 round. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. Wasn't familiar with the map. It wasn't on peripherals I was familiar with. The audio wasn't working. There was some issue with it, but overall, this game looks like what I hoped Friday the 13th was. This is going to replace Friday the 13th in this market. There's no doubt about it.
And so if you're a person who enjoyed playing Friday the 13th, this would be a game that you would want to get in there and get, because it matches that type of a feel. I know there's some people that play Friday the 13th purely because it's a Friday the 13th game,
which is who it was made for. We've determined.
Yeah. But if you are looking for that kind of horror survival game, where you're running around and trying to keep away and reach some ultimate goal, this seemed to be a more polished version of that than Friday the 13th.
Yeah, well, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. The most interesting thing, Brian, I think, and I brought it up in the interview, was exclusively on Discord, which is something that we literally talked about 3 weeks ago. And for the first 90 days when they come out, which will be a little bit later this year, the game will only be able to be purchased on Discord.
This is why I wasn't so concerned about the voice communication issues that we were having, because I am 100% sure they will have the voice chat 100% working, since it's exclusive on Discord when they release. And I don't know that it was an issue with their server. I don't know what the issue was, because obviously, as you said, the other team wasn't having that issue. It might have been something didn't launch in the background. It could be it could have been a silly thing that, because we didn't go tell them that there was a problem, they could have probably instantly fixed it for us. But I didn't realize that we were supposed to be having voice chat till I randomly heard one person's voice come through once. And I was like, who was that? So I think that would have made a difference. But I'm pretty sure being an exclusive, and we did go and actually talk to a Discord person just to see if we can get an interview to discuss that a little bit, and hopefully they didn't have anyone that could give a, I guess, official response there. But I'm hoping that we can go and get a good. I hope we can go get a good interview for that, because I think that's something that no one else has talked about. We talked about it first, right? We brought it up and said, "I think this is going to happen."
Yeah, literally. I am not kidding you. 1 week, actually not even a week, 3 days before Discord announced that they were adding the game selling tab to Discord, we talked about it. And obviously this was planned out for months and months and months beforehand, but Discord has so rapidly eaten. By the way, TeamSpeak is practically irrelevant. Nobody's used. I have not seen TeamSpeak being offered as a group or as a clan as a feature in months now. Mumble, same thing, gone. Ventrilo, gone. None of it exists. Every single group is using Discord. They are rapidly taking over the market. It's unprecedented. It is insane. Literally, snap your fingers, and Discord has destroyed Skype, everything. Discord.
I tried to go find more information about TeamSpeak. Yeah, and I guess they pretty much have gone to where they're just making it for the military now, and so the military is heavily using TeamSpeak because of the technology and everything. Because it is very secure. I mean, if you run your own server and you have everything encrypted, that works great, but it's not so great for gamers. Gamers don't tend to care if everything is 100% encrypted and it works like that.
It needs to work.
So simple.
Yeah, very simple.
It works every time, and I think that's the beauty of this. And if they can go and that's why they don't use Steam. Steam turns around and the voice chat is complicated. I don't think you can turn off the ringer unless you go in offline mode or hidden, right? People can call you and you don't have the ability to stop it. I mean, it's just stupid, annoying things like that. And maybe this last patch that they did.
I've never used it. I've never used VoIP on Steam.
It's horrible. And it doesn't work very well. And so I don't think that Steam could do anything to fix that. I don't think, unless they totally revamp the whole system. So if they can get it to where they're starting to get these exclusives, which I think we're going to see more and more from Discord doing, I think we'll get those exclusives. And then do you think they can have a chance of pulling away from Steam? I mean, at least getting a few titles that people will start to associate that. I mean, people are already launching the Fortnite, the Epic launcher for Fortnite, and they don't seem to have an issue with that.
Well,
Battle.net with WoW and with other games. I mean, with Overwatch.
Will they pull away from Steam?
Oh, excuse me. Pull some big titles away.
Well, I don't think they'll pull. I don't think they're going to destroy Steam. But for games like last year, The Nightmare, and he even said in the interview, and we talked a little bit off camera about it as well. He said that their Discords and their philosophies are very similar, and how they're dealing. Discord almost needs to become the early access market. Discord needs to eat up these real early access games, not these people that just put this BS up on the Steam store and sell copies and then hide and hold out and then just vanish. Not that garbage. Actual early access, like the Realm Royale people that are actually developing their game. If Discord can become the early access platform, you're going to find games that you're going to find gems on Discord, and it's going to put Steam and Valve in a really crappy situation. Now, you heard in the interview, it's only the first 90 days, but if you want to play this game day one, you're going to purchase it on Discord.
Well, and I think for those games that really rely on community, because the communities are already in Discord.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
every
all
Twitch
about
streamer has got a Discord. You go to any Twitch streamer's description below their thing, they've got a Discord server. 100% of them.
It's a perfect place for all your people to gather.
Yeah.
And you don't have to rely on you being online. I mean, if you look at YouTube, it's horrible because chat only works when you're there, right? Same thing with Twitch.
Yeah.
Chat only works when you're there. This is one of the only places that you can send people to easily that they can get on their phone and do everywhere else. And so I think for community-based games, if they can get some of these that say, hey, we need to guarantee that people that are playing our game have voice chat because that amplifies the feeling of our game so much. I think that is what's going to make them be able to get those single titles from people, from Steam, because Steam does not have those tools to guarantee that people are going to have voice chat.
Yeah.
If they're in Discord, that means they can be a part of a community. They can do the chat. So I think that's going to be their biggest draw.
Yeah, and PH saying Steam has voice chat. Yeah, we know. But nobody uses it. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is it's pretty much like a 1 versus 1. You can have a couple in there. I've used it and it's just not user friendly.
But just nobody uses
it. And the fact that you can't, and it's not going to encourage. That's the thing. If you're a big streamer, you don't want to friend everyone in Steam. You don't want to have a Steam channel that you can't control that has 100 people in it, right? I just think with Discord, you have a lot more control that is a pain to use in the Steam chat client.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the future of Discord, and for the game the last year, the Nightmare. Justin, who I interviewed in that, the whole team at that game was super cool. They pushed us right to the front of the line to get in there to play the game, which we appreciated. And I don't know how well it came across in the video. I think it came across pretty well. Justin it's not his baby per se, but the whole team is incredibly excited and they're very passionate about this game. And that was very evident. Not that the other games we talked to weren't passionate, but there's something, these games are so niche. These games are so niche, and the passion is so strong with these games that you almost feed off of their excitement. And that's how I felt after I interviewed Justin. You could see how I mean, you were standing on the other side of the camera, Brian. In that one, he was visibly excited just talking about my game. You know, this is my game. This is what you can do. There's these other games, but this is my game. This is how we're going to do it in this game. And he was just very, very excited and very, very passionate about it.
One thing, actually, I find that one of the games that I go on Twitch and watch is Dead by Daylight, because it's not necessarily that I like Dead by Daylight, but if you go watch the Dead by Daylight streamers, they are really into that game. It's not like a passive, like they're into it.
Yeah,
and they're working out these strategies, trying to figure it out, and I think that is something that attracts people, is how excited they are about it. Because I could care, as I said, I could care less about Dead by Daylight. I didn't get that feeling from Friday the 13th though. Like I was never excited to watch someone play Friday the 13th because I think it didn't have that. It just didn't have something about it. But I think with this, it had more of that Dead by Daylight. Hey, you could get into that, and you'll kind of yell as you're playing, and be like, "Oh man, whoa!" That like you don't get that on Friday the 13th. We get more of, "Oh, I'm stuck in the door. Oh, I can't.
I can't open the damn window, and he's right behind me."
I'm trying to do this. It's like opening and closing the door, all this stupid stuff. Like you don't run into that.
No, I didn't mean press E to open the door. I meant hold E to put the bar over the door. I mean, it's just, yeah, exactly.
What's funny is when you go to open the door, but you're too close to the window, and so it takes you through the window instead.
And you run right into him.
Try to stop it, and it doesn't stop. But when you get to the other side, then it starts bringing you back into the door. It just, you get locked into animation. It was just horrible. So we didn't have any of those issues in this game. So I think that's the main takeaway, is it's not Friday the 13th. How about that? It's
not Friday the 13th, and he wanted to shy away from that. But when you walked up to the booth, when you saw it, I don't know who I walked up to the booth with. It may have been Sean. I was like, is this Friday the 13th? It looked so similar just by looking. I'm not saying it played like Friday the 13th, but looking at
not the force in the cabins, but as far as the feel,
four players, a creature or monster coming after you, cup classes, the way that you got knocked out or passed out, it just looked a lot like F13. And now there's a void in that market because that game is ceasing to do updates. And as the developers have said, this is no inside information. The developers have said they're going to eventually have to stop maintaining the game because you can't. How can you continue to afford to maintain the game when there's no new content? So
they're not going to be able to maintain and sell new copies. So I mean, I think it's the best thing is for them to kind of go away. What would be cool of them if they said, "Hey, we're going away, but look at this game. It'll have a lot of feel. Sure, it's not the Friday 13th IP, but it's that feel. If you enjoyed what we brought you in this game, go try this one because I think it's the closest thing to it."
I would agree. So that was last year, The Nightmare. That interview is already up on YouTube. You can go check that out. I posted it in their Discord, and a couple people were pretty excited to see it because they're itching for content for this game. There is not a lot of it that exists on the internet. If you go and look it up, there's people talking about it. A lot of it revolves around PAX East when it was shown, but there's not a lot of content about the game. And I believe
we might be able to get maybe some content that's more fresh because they did give us their contact information. And I think what we can do is get some more video that's not the one that they originally put out on YouTube that shows some of that more recent gameplay. And so we'll work that out and try to get something that we can show you here, hopefully next week or maybe the week after, depending on how much content and video we have from some of the other interviews.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate that this show fell so close to PAX. I was going to.
We didn't have a lot of time to edit and then also get all these contacts from everybody because they're just getting back.
I had the contacts, but as I was thinking about it this afternoon, yesterday was the last day of PAX West. Nobody's responding to email today. I sent an email out early this morning, like 9 o'clock Eastern, to one of the people that we talked to, and of course I haven't received a reply. I'm sure they're out of the office if they had to fly overnight or took a red eye. The long flight from the East Coast, 5 hours plus to get to and from Seattle. So we weren't able to make all those contacts, but everybody that we talked to, all of the games that we interviewed, the people were super cool and were interested in either giving away keys and coming on the show and all that other stuff. So we'll look forward to that in the next couple of weeks as everything settles down a little bit from PAX.
Yes. So let's go and do the giveaway really quick.
Yes, sir.
And we'll roll that through to the end of the show here.
What do we got?
So exclamation point giveaway. And this is a 60 points raffle. So you've been listening or watching for the last hour. It'll be open to where you'll have enough points. If you follow the channel, you get 10 more cans as we put them. So if you're just short,
we need to change it. Do we need to change our currency?
I don't know. It's called cans.
I like it, right?
So I'm going to be giving away a copy of The Surge, and this is a Souls-like action RPG sci-fi difficult gore. It's got very positive ratings, and it's usually $29.99. Actually, it's $29.99 right now. So if you want to enter for that, we'll do it for the next 30 minutes here and then give it away right before the end of the show. So exclamation point giveaway, and that'll get you entered in there. And it's totally free other than a little bit of your time. Yeah,
you can enter that in the chat. And it maybe you found this show on YouTube. Maybe our official hype man, Lance, gave you a dog tag and you're listening to this on YouTube after the fact, or maybe listening to the podcast. We do this show live every Tuesday night on Twitch and on YouTube Live. And it's on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. We've been doing this show now for 190 weeks straight. We have never missed an episode. There's not been a single episode that we've missed over the last 190 weeks. We've got a couple bonus shows thrown in there for special events and occasions. So tune in live. You can enter to win the giveaway. You can interact in the chat, and you can do all that fun stuff.
Very good. All right. Do you have a preference where we go from here?
I do. I want to talk about some drama, right? Because drama is what is
your favorite thing.
Yeah, I enjoy talking about drama. I love talking about drama. And there is some more drama with H1Z1, who, by the way, we ran into our friend Sarah Flanagan out at PAX West, who is the community manager for Daybreak Games now and H1Z1. And she was very nice to us. She gave us some codes and stuff that we'll be giving away here over the next couple weeks. And we're hopefully going to have somebody on the show to talk about the PS4 version of H1Z1, which I think is very interesting. So it was cool to see Sarah and talk to her and finally,
we got some pins.
Finally meet somebody. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know where mine is. It's probably in a suitcase.
Good focus, but
yeah. looks good. And did you? I don't know if you have the codes or if I have the codes.
I don't think I have the codes. Hopefully, Lance didn't run off with them.
I may have the codes. I'm not sure.
So we did get one thing. I'll mention. We will be giving away some codes for Royale.
Yep.
Here in the near future, and then we've got those.
I do have H1Z1 codes. I'll throw it in the chat right now.
What's the face look like on it? I'm trying to remember which mask it is. It's not the unicorn.
It's the Jester.
The Jester. Okay, so this is a Jester mask, and so we will be giving away those in next because we got a decent stack of them. Same thing with the Realm Royale ones for that jailbreak chicken. We got a decent number of those codes as well, so we will be giving those away.
Yes, so there was some drama with H1Z1. There's an article over on vpesports.com that H1Z1 Pro League, which is, I don't know if exactly, I believe it's a 50-50 split between H1Z1, Daybreak's H1Z1 and Twin Galaxies. They're both, I believe, half, I don't know if they're both half share owner, stakeholders or owners, but they seem to work in tandem to make these events happen.
Which Twin Galaxies is Jace Hall pretty much.
Yes.
I mean, he is the main guy at Twin Galaxies.
He is the face over there. And we know now he is I don't know what he is at Daybreak now with H1Z1. He doesn't have a title. Everything is NDA'd still. I don't know. But
he's the official soon guy.
Yeah, he's the official soon man. And so there's an article here though that says that they're struggling to fulfill contractual obligations with some of their players. The Pro League did kind of spin up very quickly, and there's issues with player visas because contracts weren't set in stone before players were brought to the U.S. to play in the Pro League. This is not a very good article. I don't know who wrote this. Oh, I can tell you who wrote the article. I don't know what their connection is to everything, but they did not take They didn't seem very friendly to the H1Z1 folks on this. And I thought it was an interesting article. You can go through and read it. There's not really a whole lot. It's a long article to read, but it doesn't appear it's all peaches and cream over at the H1Z1.
Okay, so I'm just gonna mind if I pull out some points of this.
Yeah, go for it.
To catch my eye. So one thing is they've been saying that these matches have been having between 2,000 to 12,000 concurrent viewers, but when they look at the chat on Facebook, from what they can tell, it seems to be mostly dominated by bots that are attempting to get skin codes.
That's
so. I mean, that's one thing we've talked about, the skin market kind of creating these negative aspects of games. I guess this is one of them. When those things become money, right? I mean, that's what they become is an asset that you can buy and sell on the internet. Then these type of things happen.
Yeah,
I think that's one thing that Fortnite has done well is their skins aren't worth anything on the global market. There's not a place you can go and turn around and sell a Fortnite skin. So therefore, there's no reason for that they would be doing that in Fortnite. And so I think in here, this is, I mean, we saw this with H1Z1 of them saying, hey, look at how many players we have. Okay. And it was all China, right? It was 90%, you think? I mean, 90% China at one point in time. But they weren't saying that, but they kept boasting about how high their numbers were players. And so I think here they're going to say, hey, look, we got 12,000 concurrent viewers. But if you really dig into it, just like we did with looking at the player numbers, this isn't so good if their market is trying to maybe advertise to Americans. I mean, and that's the thing is, if they're getting advertising and things like this inside of their pro league, it's going to be hard for them to go and get advertisement or product placement or something.
Yeah.
When they realize, oh, it's mostly bots, or with, oh, it's mostly Chinese players, because there's a lot of places that can't sell stuff to China. I mean, that is an issue that most people don't think about, is if you're relying on advertising, yet your highest number of players is China, well, then you need to have ability to sell to the China markets. And I think that is a shortcoming that I don't think that H1Z1 has really dealt with, and this pro league is probably not dealing with either. So I think they're running into more issues with getting that money and having that money. I mean, this is probably a lot paid out of pocket at this point. I don't think they're bringing in the funds to pay for itself, which, as you can see here, is this a sign that Daybreak's having money issues? I mean, if they can't pay their players properly, is Daybreak second guessing this? I mean, I'd be more second guessing this if I was Jace Hall.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is, and unfortunately, Jace is so cryptic on Twitter. I don't know what in the hell is going on. I mean, every day his last tweet on September 1st is, "God damn, we are so close. The pain."
Yeah, did you see? Yeah, that put some.
And then him and
links in
Adam
there.
Clegg just go back and forth about, should we tell them anything? I mean, it's the most ridiculous. Just the most ridiculous thing watching this unfold on Twitter. I mean, they better, Jesus Christ, better resurrect when this game comes, when they finally release what the hell's going on here, because this has been the biggest lead up to everything. I mean, they better bring Jesus back to life when this game comes out, because that's how much hype they put behind this. It's incredible, absolutely incredible to watch this.
All right, here's one thing he did post, and I think this was yesterday. Actually, was it within the last couple of days?
September
He said,
1st, yeah.
September 1st. So said, "Hey, at Jace Hall." Now, this is him. I don't quite get this statement because he's referencing himself, but I'll read it as
quoted.
is, and then
yeah.
So he's doing, quote, "Hey, Jace Hall, in a fantasy universe, would you," maybe someone asked him this, "would you be planning to reward users that are loyal and still playing the game with a super rare skin at some point in the future? People playing before any announcement from you should be something special, right? Those who believe, right?" And then he puts a meme that says, "Things that make you go, So this must be a question that he got. So, but it's not an answer. It's not actually, he's just putting the same thing of, because a lot of times he'll answer a difficult question with a statement that doesn't have anything to do with it. And like, that's his answer. And so I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, it's just like okay, what was that original skin for the map, the original map? They had the...
I survived Z1.
I survived Z1, and then there's Z2. I mean, that's the thing, is they had a skin for that. It's not that big of a deal. And is it really rare if everybody who has the game right now gets it? I don't know. I don't think that... I find it's weird that he puts so much hype behind these things, and people are really getting mad at him in Twitter. On Twitter, people are starting to put a lot of negative comments in the responses to his things because they're tired, just like you. They're tired of it.
Yeah,
it's like a put up or shut up type of a situation. And I think that it's getting to the point to where he has to start putting up, because people just don't want to hear. They don't want to see another meme saying maybe, and they don't want to, and they don't want to have any more soon statements, because they're all just the same thing we've been hearing for the last how many years.
I want the game to succeed. I really want the game to succeed, but at some point you gotta put up. I mean, you can't just.
I think the hype worked for a little while. That's the thing, is the hype was working for a couple weeks. Like, people were they were stoked.
We're going on a month now of this.
But a month, 2 months, I don't know how long it's going to go on. That is when it becomes an issue. You can only say that for so long, and he has to time it right, or at least start putting out. I mean, they put out a screenshot here and there, which shows pretty much stuff that was in an old version of the game.
Yeah, bringing back Playtest 3.
They're not showing anything current and new. They're not showing anything that anyone's going to be able to get their hands on at this moment.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to have to start putting out some changes, or putting out something that people can have their hands on, so that they actually keep a belief that this is going to happen.
I would like to think so, but as of right now, we still have nothing but soon. Yeah. As Camper in the chat says, PS3 2K19. It's
maybe
it's so ridiculous.
So that's H1Z1. And other than that, there's very little updates. All the updates have been coming out of PS4. I mean, pretty much they're console updates. I haven't seen anything for PC,
and that's
as far as changes.
And that's why we want to have somebody on to talk about.
Yeah,
that.
but the thing is the changes, I think they're not making changes to the PC version because they're working on this. They are working on it. I do give them that. I don't doubt it that they are working on getting this old version going. Now with the PS4 version, they're doing, that's for more recent. They're putting out updates, fixes to make it run smoothly and correctly on PS4. Plus, it's different. I mean, the interface is different. It is a different client than the PC version by far. So I understand that they're putting updates out for that. But what I would like to ask them is how long until you guys have something that people are going to get their hands on? Because that's going to be the question. There's got to be a point where people can do a test, go on the testing build or something like that, and at least try out a rough version of it, so that then they're able to keep their faith. Because that's going to be the issue, is if they can't get it for another 3 months, people are just going to be raging on the internet.
It'll be here soon, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't work for me. But I did promise Sarah I won't bring up Just Survive, and we'll talk to them about the upcoming version and then the PS4 version. Because I am curious, is that in their eyes successful? Has there been an uptake on the PS4 version like they were hoping for? I mean, is that as successful as they wanted? And I can't promise that they'll give me an honest answer. I mean, because of course, if it's not doing well, or they're going to say, no, it's doing horrible. Yeah. I don't think they'll say that, but I am curious how it is going, because I do want aspects of that game to be successful, because I think the failures made us mad, but I don't want the company to end. I do want it to continue to exist, and I do want them to be successful. So hopefully they are.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll talk to somebody there. Again, as I said, Sarah was super nice, gave us some stuff, some codes. She said, take some of these codes to give away. And we'll be doing that. We'll put them on Twitter, put them in Discord. So just keep an eye out for those over the next couple of weeks as we give those out. So thanks to her. And I don't remember the gentleman she was with, but they were both kind of.
I've seen him before,
managers.
but I didn't recall his name. So I'm sure if I saw him, I'd be like, okay, that's this guy, and I could point him out. But
yep. So hopefully
we'll follow that up.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have somebody soon. We've got their contact info, so who knows? Maybe this is a turning point. Maybe Daybreak won't hate us anymore.
Yeah, this will be a new page.
Yeah.
All right. So
right?
We had mentioned the chicken a little bit, but do we want to talk a little bit about Realm Royale? Or do you want?
It's just another game that, voila, we're at PAX. Nobody knew. They were there.
And we actually worked hard to get this interview.
Yeah, we did. Worked hard
because for it. This one was in the Facebook booth, and it wasn't something to where they had representatives there easily. We went the first time. We're pretty much told that there wasn't anyone we could talk to, and we were persistent and said, hey, wait, here's some guys with some shirts that say Realm Royale. Can
said high-res staff on the back.
Yeah, but we were told before that, no, there's nobody here.
Yeah.
Like the first time we went there, like there's nobody here. So we were able to track down the interview, and I bet you this is an interview that no one else got. I don't think you will see another Realm Royale interview from PAX 2018. So. All right, this is Brian. We're here at PAX West 2018, and I'm here with Josh, who's with Realm Royale, and we're actually here at the Facebook Gaming. It's a booth, but it's a very nice lounge area that they provided. And so we wanted to get a little bit of information about Realm Royale. A lot of our listeners, our viewers, play this game. And so currently, for those who maybe don't know so much about Realm Royale, how did it start? Because this wasn't originally a battle royale game. Where did this genre start?
So Realm Royale actually evolved out of another one of Hi-Res Studios' games called Paladins. We originally created a game called Paladins Battlegrounds, where we took the characters from our hero shooter, put them in a battle royale environment, and started messing around, started testing with it. Because as a game studio, we are full of developers who love video games. So we're like, let's test the bounds. Let's see what we can do with this. So as we sort of went through the development process with Paladins Battlegrounds, we learned that there were a lot of barriers to entry. You had to know who the characters were. There's sort of lore in the background that you don't really understand. So then we decided to sort of pivot and make a separate title and IP altogether known as Realm Royale. And with Realm Royale, our focus is building your champion. And originally, in the original iteration that's out right now, we actually have a class system that allows you to sort of play different archetypes in the game. You have different abilities available to you, you have different weapons available to you, and they each have sort of different silhouettes. You can identify who is who. And we wanted to appeal to sort of that fantasy, RPG, MOBA, Battle Royale feel because, as gamers, those are the kind of games that we like, and thought that this would be a really fun experience for everyone. It's sort of different.
Well, and one thing that I noticed about Realm Royale is it's incredibly polished, because when you first go in there, a lot of games when they're early access, they first come in, the movements aren't smooth, like things obviously are very broken. When we went into Realm Royale for the first time, we looked and it's like everything seems to work. I mean, that was kind of a new thing for us. We were very shocked. The character art was great. Everything seemed incredibly polished. One thing also that we noticed right away that was different than any other games in the genre is what happens when you die. And this was something very unique, and we thought this was really cool. Okay, so what happens? Normally a player in a BR game, they fall down and it's like, okay, revive me, I'm crawling around. What makes this one different?
So in Realm Royale, when you run out of health, you turn into a chicken, which is interesting in of itself, and it's fun, because that was something we wanted to remind our players. Our games are all about fun. Yes. When you get turned into a chicken, it's not just waiting to die or waiting for a teammate to come pick you up. You actually have the ability to come back to life. You can run around for 20 seconds, and as long as you survive, you'll come back. But then you get to have a little bit of fun. You're jumping through windows, dodging bullets, balking around. Yep. And then if you do get knocked out or eliminated, you feel like, you ended the game on a high note. You feel good. You had a good time right at the end. So we want to just remind players that fun is sort of our focus with the game.
And I always thought that it's like doing a little song as you're running around, like a buck, 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 buck. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that's one thing that's very unique that you don't get in these other games is that ability to you're running and you're hiding. I mean, you're being a chicken, and you're jumping through windows, and you're just doing all these different tricks to try to survive long enough. Now, you kind of hinted at this a second ago, but you said in our current version, they have classes. So this, maybe some people that are watching this caught that, but how is that going to change here in the future?
So we have a very experimental patch coming up. We take alpha to mean the development term alpha. So we are still experimenting, we're testing. Something you might like or dislike about a patch could completely change next patch. We want to make sure that we get the game right and try everything that's available to us. So in this next patch that's coming out, we're getting rid of the class system, and it's going to be more focused on building your champion. So you're going to have 2 weapon slots and 2 ability slots, and one of those is going to be a mobility ability slot, and the other one is open to anything you want. So you're not going to choose a class at the beginning of the game anymore. And you're going to kind of get the ability to freely build your character as you explore the realm. And what this does is allows us to avoid the issue of if half the lobby is picking one of the classes, engineer right now, this doesn't prohibit you from being able to loot things off of those players, and half the loot from chests isn't going to be engineer specific. Because the way it works right now is that if an engineer opens a chest, engineer items come out, except for weapons, of course. So this allows players to more freely loot and feel like they're getting something for eliminating a player, right? Like, oh, I found a sniper rifle. I'm an engineer. Oh, I'm not an engineer. I can use this sniper rifle. You know what I mean? So we're going for more player freedom and having more fun.
So will this mean that they can very, very much customize? In a way, are they based on what they're choosing and looting and picking up and putting in those ability slots? Are they kind of able to, during the game, choose what they are going to be? Now, if you find that doesn't work, are you willing to go back to the class system? Like, how tied are you to that?
So during this alpha phase, as a community manager, I'm listening very closely to what the community is talking about, what they like and don't like, and obviously bug reports and fixes and that sort of thing. With us being an alpha, nothing is locked in place. Anything can go, probably except chickens. Yeah, chickens will never go. That's a staple to the Realm Royale experience. But yeah, pretty much anything could change because we want to make sure that we're getting the best experience. So again, we're going to go back to the community and the designers and sort of talk about how we can incorporate some of the changes that the community likes and wants to have in the game with the designer's vision for the game. And we want to come to a compromise and make changes that everyone will enjoy.
Well, and that's one thing that I saw, and I was like, the having the skins for the chicken. I thought it was like that's a really, because what other game has a skin for the death part of a character, right? I mean, you get all these other things, but and that one is so personal. Being that we deal with a lot of alpha games, it's tough to find a game that works and works correctly and just isn't overrun with problems. So we really appreciate that. We wanted to get a chance to find out some more information of what's coming up in this. And we're really excited we were able to talk to you. And we're here at the Facebook Gaming Lounge, and it's a beautiful environment. Had a really good interview, and hopefully we'll catch you more. Come check us back. We're at PAX West 2018.
All right, Realm Royale, PAX West 2018 in the Facebook Gaming booth. FB.GG was what all the Facebook employees had on their thing. And Brian, remind me at the end of this, let's talk about Facebook Gaming. But yeah, it was cool to see the Realm folks there. Josh, both of the community guys' managers' names were Joshua and Josh. But Josh was really cool. He gave us some skins to give away. Again, we'll be giving away over the next couple of weeks. And it was cool to talk to them. Their game is, I think I said this when it first came out. It was in my opinion, it was just different enough to be really popular, and I still maintain that it's just different enough. And you honed in on that with the chicken mechanic, and it's just different enough. And they've got their new class system coming out.
Well, and I haven't heard anyone else talking about that whole new mechanic. I mean, because they mentioned it to us, but that's an unreleased thing.
It's on their. So it's on the test servers.
Is it? Because well, didn't they just do that though? But
it was on the test servers before PAX.
Oh, okay. Because I haven't heard anything about that. So
it's on the test, yeah. Because I asked what they were playing, and he said they were playing live servers at the show, but it was on the test or the beta servers or whatever. At least that's what I was told.
Yeah, because I mean, so they'll be rolling that out soon to the live to try. I would assume they're going to roll them out to live, from what I gathered of him saying, and then we'll get a chance to play that new mechanic. I mean, because I think that people maybe were getting confused at the different abilities. He didn't really tell you so much before. Okay, what can the warrior do versus the paladin or whatever? These different classes, they don't really know the differences. So I think it makes a little more sense for players to be able to kind of customize and make their character based on what they're looting. It makes it a little more like an MMO as well. I mean, in an MMO, you get to pick those different things. But I think this lets them pick on the fly during the game and still have a really custom character.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
Yeah. So
and we'll do that as game of the week. In the next couple of weeks, I'll try to find out when they're going to be releasing that, and then we'll do that as game of the week when they do that new change.
Yes, exactly. So we'll keep that in, and again another good contact that we were able to make. And they had a really cool setup there in Facebook. They had each computer was its own little kind of kiosk with a nice sign above it and everything. Unfortunately, I just forgot about it. We didn't shoot any video of that, but
Facebook Gaming setup is where they were doing that H1Z1 stream. So they were doing a lot of live streams from there. For the PS4, but they were doing a lot of live streams from the Facebook Gaming booth, and they had as I said, a really nice lounge area where people were sitting. I assume those were streamers that were all hanging out.
Some of them were Facebook employees. Yeah. Saw one girl on her laptop coding. It looked like may have been working on committing some Facebook gaming code while she was sitting in the lounge. Yeah, which I thought was pretty funny. So yeah, that's Realm Royale. It was cool to see them. That was one of the first things we saw, and it was like, oh my god, the Realm Royale people are here, which was really cool. Obviously, we've been talking about that game since day one, so that was cool.
All right, we have one more game, and this is one that maybe you have played as a single player game before, but Dying Light, which is a very polished franchise, they've been around for a while. They are putting out a BR mode, and so this one's called Dying Light Bad Blood. And I don't know if is there anything we need to do to preface the video?
No, I guess we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after. And again, remind me, Brian. Facebook. I do want to talk about Facebook gaming.
We'll talk about that right before. Yeah, right after this and right before we end.
All right, here we go. Dying Light Bad Blood at PAX West 2018.
It's Nick here from the Infection Podcast. We are here live in Seattle for PAX West 2018. You can see by in Seattle. I'm here with Magic with Dying Light Bad Blood. How are you?
Good. How are you?
So the original Dying Light was a single player, and then it had a 4-player co-op, right?
Yes, that's a single-player game where we basically focused on the story, and then it turned into a big co-op game. But we also had a PvP twist to it. It was one of the modes we made. It was the zombie mode.
So obviously, Battle Royale is a really popular mode right now. We got games like PUBG and Fortnite that are kind of controlling the market. What is Dying Light Bad Blood?
Dying Light Bad Blood is not a typical Battle Royale. We call it Brutal Royale, and we wanted to make a difference on that market. So that's why we created kind of our own genre in the whole place. We don't want to be compared to PUBG or Fortnite. We don't want to compete with these guys. We want our games to be different. We want our games to be quick. We aim for 10 minutes each single game. Extremely fast-paced, no hiding in the bushes. You go into the game, boom, boom, boom. Immediately you have to fight, you have to loot, you have to just basically survive. Because that's a very seamless join of what we made between PvE and PvP. Basically anything on that map is a danger to you as a player. So we have our epic zombies, we have our own parkour that came directly from Dying Light, and we have 11 unpredictable and completely dangerous players trying to win the game as well.
They say you're not trying to compete with PUBG or Fortnite. What makes Dying Light Bad Blood a little bit different?
I mean, everything that I said. Dying Light itself, we took everything from the core game of Dying Light. So parkour, that's amazing. That's like one of the best parkours on the gaming market. We took the zombies, we took the city, we took the very, very rich city, and that's already a big difference between other games. Our city is a single-player city, so you can enjoy everything that comes out of that. We don't have the zone that shrinks. We have very, very straight rules for everything. You can only get cosmetics. So we break the genre, and it's extremely brutal. There is sequences where players can win. So one player can evacuate and he wins, but there is also a reality where no one wins the game. Really? There's no one winning the match.
How many players can we expect in each match?
It's 12 players in each match, and this is balancing the time that we want the game to last. So 11 plus you as a player, and that's by design. That's how we wanted it to be.
So that's just 12 players because you mentioned 10 minutes game time, which is very quick in comparison to games like PUBG and Fortnite. PUBG, you can play an hour and a half before you get to the final round. Fortnite's a little bit quicker, but 10 minutes is very quick.
We want it quick, and if there's like right now we're experiencing behind the wall here, guys playing. We have experiencing games around 8 minutes. So you have sweaty foreheads, sweaty hands, very fast-paced games, and that's what we want. We want players to come home, be able to play maybe 10, 12 games within an hour, enjoy, and then move on to something else. We don't want long-lasting games. That's our.
Now the booth's pretty busy here. You mentioned that you were at Gamescom last week. What's the reaction from people that have been playing the game the past couple of weeks?
And it's amazing reaction. We just launched right now, 9 a.m. this Saturday. We launched a second global playtest, which is 200,000 people plus playing the game right now as we speak online. It was amazing. There was a lot of requests for opening again the registration for the playtest. We had more than 4,000 people that play at Gamescom. Very high ratings, very high expectations from us as well. So my team is very busy and happy to work on delivering the product within September.
Well, busy is good. Where can people go to get some more information about the game?
They can go dlbb.com. So that's our website. You will get transferred to the FQA to the game. But itself, we also invite people to join a global playtest if they have a code and just play and enjoy.
So give us one final pitch. Maybe somebody's not convinced. Give us a quick little pitch on why you need to get in this global playtest and play the game.
I mean, global playtest is one, but if you want to experience the fastest Brutal Royale on the market right now, just play Bad Blood.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I really enjoyed having the opportunity. All three of us, Sean shot B-roll in that video that you saw, but you, Lance, and myself all had the opportunity to play 2 rounds of that game. And what made it so interesting is the main element is not necessarily PvP. It's there are hives, what they call them, hives of zombie, or there's a hive that you have to collect, extract from the hive, use that little ink, it looked like a little spray paint gun that you saw, but the hives are there's a swarm of zombies around the hive, and it seems like the main objective is you have to get those hives to I believe the score limit is 1,500, and when you build that up, the evac helicopter comes in and you can hop in the helicopter and leave. So this was this is an interesting game. This is unlike any of the other BR games. It's 12 players, and it is very fast-paced. With the parkour, you can literally go to any part of the map. You can go from lowest level to being on the top floor in 3 jumps. You don't have to run through a building and go up stairwells and check all these rooms. You can hop right to the top of a building and do stuff like that. So it was cool to have the opportunity to play that and see what you can do in that game. Because again, the main element is not the PvP. It's killing the PvE zombies, extracting things from the hive, and then getting out on the evac.
You kill them at the end. Yeah. And that's the thing is, one thing that kind of the main choke point, I guess you could say, in the PvP is at the very end when there's that evac helicopter, then there's some sort of a boss, like a boss zombie that's in that area. And so you're kind of working your way through multiple things, but you also have to worry about players kind of coming in at the last minute, ganking you when you're getting to that last, you're trying to deal with that last zombie and then coming out with a win. Because we saw one guy, just kind of hide and wait behind stuff to the last minute, and then he killed the guy who did all the work, right? Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And was able to get to that evac helicopter first. So there's different strategies to try to win this game.
Yeah. And the 8-minute play time that he mentioned seemed pretty accurate to what we were doing. It was a lot of fun. I think it was really cool to play. We got some cool Dying Light draw strap bags that we all got. It was fun. They were another booth that had a very long line. It wrapped around almost the entire perimeter. And they were very cool. The game looks very interesting, and it's just another one. I think in the same vein of Realm Royale, it is just different enough. In this case, it's actually a lot different, but it's different enough that it can find its own place in the market.
I think it gives that kind of feel to those players that don't want to do the whole Fortnite thing. They don't want to have to do the long drawn out games of a standard BR. Maybe they're used to more of a Call of Duty quick round style. I think this will lend really well to consoles, because consoles, sometimes it's tough to go and do a 45-minute game on a console. But I think this one's quick enough to where, you feel like you're getting those quick rounds like you do in Call of Duty.
Well, and it was funny talking to Magic, because he said something that I have said a million times on this program, which is if you have an hour to play a game, maybe you do. I don't want to play 2 games of PUBG in an hour. There's probably not going to be a lot of fun over that hour period. PUBG is a game. The games are longer to the fact where you need to carve out a couple of hours if you want to play a couple good games. And
have the chance to possibly win. I mean, that's the thing is to come out with a win in a game, you'll have to have played most of the night, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of time you have to put in, because the beginning of the game is a little bit slower. And it was interesting for him to say the same thing that I've been saying, is if you have an hour to play, we want you to play 8 or 9 games, which is something I've said it 100 times. Some people have an hour between dinner or before bed or right when they get home from work. They have an hour. They have 60 minutes to play. 60 minutes, and they want to be able to hop into games. And Fortnite's kind of like that. If you play super aggressive, you can die very quickly. But this game is, you're in the thick of it from day one. From day one, or excuse me, from the second you spawn, you're in the thick of it. There's not a whole lot of setup. It's nowhere near the amount of PUBG. So I know I exaggerated the PUBG time a little bit in the interview, but I mean, realistically,
as I said, it just feels like an hour and a half.
Well, I mean, it's easily an hour if you play through the end of the zone.
I think it's like 40. I think 45 minutes is a general, like, from beginning to end. If I remember, with the changes in, I think, the speeding up of things, I would guess probably like 45 minutes, which is still a long time. I mean, in an hour and a half, you get a maximum of 2 games. I mean, that's pushing it. Like, you'll have the lobby time and all this. And a couple hours, play a couple games. You have to commit a couple hours to those.
And that's not necessarily. And it's not necessarily. It's not a bash on PUBG for the time of their game. It's just that myself, I don't want to invest the time. I don't want to invest the 45 minutes into the game. I would much rather, it's my attention span, I don't know what it is. I would much rather play like last year Nightmare, 15-minute rounds or 10-minute rounds or whatever it is in these other games. Realm Royale is a pretty quick game. Fortnite is semi-quick, but it still plays out. I'd much rather play that.
The lull times. I think that's part of the issue that some people have with PUBG is that there's that lull time of running between things. I think that they've done a good job with Realm Royale. If you have that goal of getting to those chests and like doing these things to upgrade your gear on a consistent basis to where you feel like you don't have downtime. And I think that that's something that these games are trying to figure out. Just all these different games that are doing this BR, they're like, okay, we like the BR concept, but how do we get rid of these things that kind of drive some of the players away or make them not want to play anymore because it's like, okay, I just don't have the time for that right now.
Yeah. GOTW is asking if there's only one map or where the following DLC map be available.
I tested on one map.
We only played one map. Not sure if there'll be more with it coming after that, but I would only tested with one.
They could easily, in the way that game felt, they could throw it in a couple of their maps, other of their areas that they have in the regular game, and it would feel just fine, I think.
I think so as well. So that is that's all of our PAX video.
Yes.
But real quick before we get out of here, and I know we're running a little late, but I think this is interesting. I am of the opinion that Facebook is about to make a very serious push into the gaming live streaming world. Their booth at PAX was better than Mixer's booth. Thank you, Camper, and Brock Vaughn for the subscription. He subscribed earlier during the video, and I forgot to mention it. But their booth was definitely more impressive than the Mixer booth, and
yeah,
you may even say it was more impressive than the Twitch booth. They've put some serious.
Well, Twitch had a lot of area that was totally dedicated to the streamers only. Like, yeah, there wasn't so much for the people that weren't streamers. It was more of your streamers come and hang out in the Twitch booth. I think is what they were doing. So I think that they definitely had a better presentation at the Facebook Live or the Facebook gaming booth.
It was very cool to see. I'm not a Facebook fan whatsoever. But here's the thing. Facebook's got enough influence and they sure as hell have enough money that when they want to do something, they do it, and they'll try to do it because they've got the resources to do that. And they appear to be putting an incredible amount of money into Facebook gaming, fb.gg. So
I think part of it is going to be integrations, because that's one thing. I mean, if you look at Twitch, they have so much opportunity for doing integration into games.
Yeah.
Being that right now they're the top one. There are a few integrations where it'll show some stuff on the screen. But I think the studio that goes through or the platform that goes through and comes up with true integrations into a game that makes something, it's kind of like a 4D experience, right? In a game to where there's some other dimension being brought from the players that's streaming the game from their thing to the person on the other side of that screen. I think that's going to be the thing that makes the difference. Facebook is enough of an established thing to where they could contact different games and say, hey, we want to have something that interfaces. They could get it done.
Sure, I agree.
Some random other company would struggle to get that to happen. But I really think that Facebook has that influence to say, all right, that we are serious. That we have a huge viewer base or possible viewer base. Let's make these integrations and let's make something unique. I think that is what would set them apart. Plus, I don't know what they would do different possibly about, because right now Twitch, you can stream and people can make money. They take 50%. Maybe they could offer something that's maybe a little more enticing to a streamer to get them to stay there, because maybe they're not going to look for a full 50% of everything the streamer receives.
Yeah, and obviously Facebook's got enough connections to make things happen. So it It is interesting. I'm only bringing it up to say it's something you should probably keep your eye out for, because it appears that sooner rather than later they're going to make a pretty significant push into the gaming market.
So you want me just to mention some of the things that we didn't cover, and then people can go check out our show notes. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about these later, because things will be happening. But Rocket League, they came out with their progression update over this past week. I think they released the official progression update right before we left. Tomorrow they're going to be putting out that Rocket Pass. So pretty much something like what you see in Fortnite of you can have the two different tiers. They're going to have the free tier and then the Rocket Pass tier, which gets you extra skins and probably vehicles and things like that. So if you are a Rocket League fan, go in there and your current season will have progression. I'm like level 20 something, Lore's 30, whatever. And you'll get some rewards from that. But then they'll also be tomorrow announcing that, or putting out the Rocket Pass, where you can get that and you'll get some additional things. And it should give you all the tiers up to that point of whatever level you're currently at. So if you haven't been playing it, you'll get some sort of a reward. Islands of Nine, they put out a patch 1.4, so you can check that out. Saurian, which is a dinosaur survival game that I've talked about before, they put out a new patch 1.7. Black Wake has a new patch 3.4, so we'll have a link to the notes for that. The Black Death, they released a new thing called Kings and Queens, so you can actually be royalty in the game now. It's currently in their beta branch, but they haven't announced what that's going to be. So I would assume here in the next couple of weeks that'll be rolled out to live, and we'll talk more. We'll go into depth on that when they're released to their live branch. Hurt World put out an update. The Long Dark launched into stores this past week, probably over PAX. And I did see some of those discs that they were showing off in their booth there. And there's a launch trailer that you can check out, but that's an excellent survival game, very polished, beautiful game. Unturned put out a new patch, and then No Man's Sky put out 1.58. So I think that's everything.
All right. I'll forego current players as we're already over time.
Yes.
What about you?
All right. Okay. Yeah. So tip of the week is where we go through and either I give a general gaming tip or something for a specific game. Last week, people enjoyed when I gave a general gaming tip. So this is going to be another one of those. So this is tip of the week. All right. So I always encourage people to kind of learn more about what's happening in their games, some of the technology behind them. And I think an excellent way that you can do that, and you can do it generally for free, is to play around with some game development. One thing is, if you want to understand maybe why there's some limitations in games or why they're doing certain things, or maybe even like we predict sometimes when some cool things are going to happen in games, because we can see that, for instance, on the Unreal launcher, and Unreal Editor, they've added some additional abilities to more recent versions of Unreal. Well, then we know that some of these big titles are going to be implementing some of those features. So if you find yourself as kind of a technology-minded person, and maybe even interested in learning to code, or even if you're good at graphics or something like that, there are aspects of game development that you can actually try. One thing is, in this past Humble Bundle, one of the latest ones they released here recently was a Unity bundle. And so if you're interested in Unity, Unity is one of the most common platforms of development that are out there right now. And it's the one that's probably has more users than Unreal. I mean, there's more people developing Unity games currently than Unreal games. But they have a bundle that gives you access to some assets and some tutorials and things like that to kind of get started, music even, to get started in game development. Also, Unreal, which is made by Epic. You know, they make Fortnite and a couple other games and a lot of the games that you play are made with that engine. You can go in there and actually load their launcher, the same one that you use to launch Fortnite, and open the editor. And inside of that section of the launcher, they have a section that you can actually go and get tutorials and samples free that have free assets in them, characters, and you could start playing around with and getting used to game development. You may not be a pro overnight, but it will give you an idea of how it works. And if you find it this thing, I mean, it takes playing around with it. You may find that it's something that you can figure out and actually enjoy doing. And anyone has the ability to pretty much make some of these games that you play with enough time and with enough figuring things out. So I would encourage you to go and just look into game development, maybe watch some tutorials on YouTube. There's lots of good things on there that are totally free. And for me, I think it would be most beneficial because then you understand, well, why do games not have this? Or why do games have this? Why do they do things a certain way? And that's one way that I'm able to tell you, okay, in this game, I see this, and I may see it a little bit differently than you. It's because I've looked at how it's actually done, and anyone can do that. So if you're interested in game development, as I said, right now, Humble Bundle has a Unity bundle out there right now. There's also a lot of free assets and things for the Unity engine. Also for Epic, which personally is my more favored one. If you do know coding, they do use slightly different languages. Unreal uses C++, and with Unity they use C#. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. And hopefully, some people will take that as a little bit of inspiration and get into game development because you can do nothing but benefit and make yourself more understanding of what's going on with the game market. So that is tip of the week.
Yeah, I might hop into some video game development. I got an idea for a game.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, it might be pretty interesting. Just again, real quick before we get out of here, follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on YouTube for the rest of the PAX videos before next week. We will show them on next week's show, but if you want to get them right away, I'm going to have everything posted to YouTube. All 8 interviews will be posted to YouTube by the end of this week. So they're up there. The first 4 that we showed on today's show, 3 of those are up on YouTube right now. Rend will be going up right after the show. And then over the next couple of days, we'll get the final 4 videos up. And hopefully we'll start getting our connections with the people we talk to, schedule some interview dates and
these interviews. Yeah, it'll be good because as Nick said, when it's right now the day after these people are getting back from having a very long week and weekend doing this type of thing, they're not going to. They need at least a week probably to really respond and catch up with their emails and get things arranged. So as soon as we can, and as soon as they're able, we're going to start lining interviews and things up with these different developer studios, and I'm excited for some of the things that we're going to get. So it'll be fun.
Yes. Again, real quick, I want to thank our friend Camper and Brock Vaughn for the subscriptions and PHVCK during today's program. Appreciate that. And special shout out to our friend Sean and Lance, who were incredibly helpful with us at PAX West. If we didn't have them there, the show would have been. We probably wouldn't have talked to half the people we talked to because it's so much to do with just 2 people. So big shout out to those guys.
And it was fun. Sean, like I met you and Sean about the same time. It was fun to get to meet him in person.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Brian loves meeting younger people from the internet.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with that part.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything. Yes, it was a lot of fun, a successful trip. Lance brought an unboxed copy of Hero Quest.
We live streamed that. We live streamed the playing of Hero Quest, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so if you go check out the VODs on Twitch here, the pre-recorded ones, it was Saturday night we played Hero Quest, and it was a lot of fun. Streamed it all on Twitch. We successfully beat the campaign, the first mission, and it was a lot of fun. We had a really good time, and again, it wouldn't have been possible without the Twitch Prime subscribers, the Twitch Bit people, the Humble Bundle subscribers, the direct donations through PayPal and Streamlabs, and the Amazon affiliate program people. So without any of those, without those sources of revenue, there is almost a 0% chance that PAX East last year or PAX West this year would have happened, or events going forward. They're just too expensive. We just can't afford to do it. These events are incredibly expensive. Between all of us, we had a couple $1,000s tied up in the event, and we were able to offload some of that due to the donations and all that other stuff. So I really do appreciate everybody's help and support on making that possible. I really do.
Yep. All right, so ready for this raffle?
Yes, sir. What do we got?
All right, so congratulations, Musty.
Hey.
Musty, long time. He was one of our original guys from H1Z1.
H1Z1. He's been with us a long time.
So.
Oh, and by the way, quick note: Musty and myself will be playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which is now backwards compatible on the Xbox One. So if you have an Xbox One and Modern Warfare 2, hit Musty or myself up in Discord. We'll set a time. We're going to play some backwards compatible Modern Warfare 2. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Musty says he's been watching since episode 3.
Nice.
Which is pretty impressive. We're on 190. This is episode 190. I mean, that's a long time. I don't know what the hell. He must.
Sean just did it.
Go ahead.
Sean did a follow age, and it says 1,290 days ago. That's a long time.
I believe that he was one of our first followers, if I had to guess. Yeah. That date looks very close.
Crazy that we've been doing it that long.
I wonder if it'll tell me what my followage is. It says I'm not following the channel. I don't know how that's I guess I don't know. I guess that's not possible.
I'm January 18th, so I'm one of the originals. You're
the OGs. You're the OGs in the chat. Oh, man, we got a lot of 2015s in this chat. That's a problem. You guys are all mentally ill if you've been listening to this since 2015. Alrighty, folks. Thanks to everybody. Really appreciate it. We had a really good time out at PAX. And I guess we'll say, Brian, where can? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your help and support out there. We had a good time.
Great time. Thank you for making all that happen, especially with equipment and everything and editing. So
absolutely.
All right, if you want to find me,
go ahead.
You ready for this? At Boise Computer on Twitter. Of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. And make sure you go check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. We have lots of links that we didn't get to today of some updates that happened in the past week. So make sure you go there and click the latest episode, 190, and that will give you all the information that you need of things that we skimmed over at the very end. Also, make sure you join our Discord. Maybe if you're not a member of our Discord, that's a great place to go and give us news that we can talk about on the next episode of the show. Also, everybody hangs out and chats, and it's what keeps the community together, even between games. Also, our Steam group, if you want to get notifications of our live show. So if you want a little pop-up right before the live show starts, join the Steam group, and I always do that before we go live. We have our YouTube channel. Make sure that you are subscribed to that, and also that you have the little bell notification on there if you want to watch the show after the fact. And then all of our podcast forms. So if you're looking for the audio-only formats that maybe you can listen to at work for some people, on the way to work, and maybe just go on a run or something like that, we have those on every platform for the podcast. If we're not on the platform that you expect us to be on, make sure you let us know, and then we can get ourselves added to that.
Sounds like a plan.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Brian. And I will see. We'll see you Friday night. We're playing some Fortnite. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Playing some Fortnite. Playing some Fortnite Friday night. I've got my foam Fortnite axe here. It means I'm a real hardcore gamer with this. And we'll get
all kinds of stuff. I got
look at this.
Twitch.
Got a whole bunch of cool swag.
Well, we can go with that in the after show a little bit. Yeah, we got some cool stuff. So.
Yeah, see, if you're not tuning in live, you're gonna miss out on it. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Brian, thank you, and I'll see you Friday night for Fortnite.
Okay.
Alrighty, folks. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Infection, episode 190 of the podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. All the information, all the links are on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.